VDC, we are back. This time, change of clothes, white hat, still got the tape though. That's the only thing that stays constant here. But we got a brand new segment. Postseason is coming up. So, who do we think is going to make it for each and every tier to the end? This isn't just who's going to make playoffs. This is who's taking the crown, who's going second place, third place, fourth place, etc. But we got a great guest, some that everybody should know. Let's say hi to our main man, Spence.
Woo!
You got me the second I started to take a sip of my beer. That's perfect. How's it going?
But
No.
all right.
Yeah, let's get into
So-
the juicy details. Are we gonna start in Mythic, or are we gonna start in Prospect? That's the question.
I
We
think
should
Mythic
end.
is fair.
We should definitely end on Prospect.
Okay.
And on Prospect, I think that's fair. I mean, Prospect and Mythic have both started playoffs already, so we really have two options to choose from. So that segment or that part of the segment will go pretty quick. But I mean, you might as well start with Mythic, right?
Absolutely.
Sure.
And just before we get started here, I just want to address the elephant in the room. We're recording this on 2 separate days, and yes, I did shave my beard. I had a business meeting. So, leave your thoughts in the comments. Brimmy beard, no Brimmy beard. What do you guys think?
Team
All right.
Beard.
I think I'm Team Beard as well, but we had to do what we had to do for the job. So,
All right,
so-
Mythic. So the two teams in Mythic right now are Project Nova and Light Garden. Project Nova, new org, new GM. Maddie was on the pod last week or a couple weeks ago. Do we think that PN takes it home, or I mean, LG though? You know, who's going all the way?
I've got a hot take here.
Oh shit!
We're gonna get an admin intervention, and neither team's gonna win because fuck them.
Ooh,
Oh.
somebody's getting banned.
OS is sliding in and stealing that undeserved victory.
Spence MVP Mythic.
I don't know. I am a huge Kenny lover.
I like any team.
I don't think any team with Kenny, aside from when he's on KC with Vin, because Vin is fucking cursed. I don't know if I can say that. I'm sorry. But Vin is cursed. So any team with Kenny on it that doesn't have Vin, in my eyes, is like clear favorite. Although Michael Kickflip has been insane this season.
Mm-hmm.
Michael Sark?
He wishes.
It's kickflip.
Michael Kickflip on
Oh,
on your franchise, dog.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry.
It's your own franchise. What are you doing here?
I know Michael Sark has been Mr. Journeyman this year, so
Sark is my goat. If
Sark
if there weren't some stupid admin rules that I may or may not have written myself, that don't allow him to join my franchise, he would have been an OS player this season.
interesting.
Fair
I
enough.
didn't know that was a rule. Michael Sark cannot be on OS.
He can't be on any franchise that has another admin.
Oh,
So
okay. I mean, that kind of makes sense though.
it does, but I want Sark. I love Sark.
I mean,
But
if it
I'm
was
a fan of
allowed,
Sark too.
I would take my chances of like my 2-year contract being up, and I'd go to whatever org had all the admins in it because clearly they're winning every tier. So
we've talked about making jokingly talked about making an expert team because 4 out of the 5 of us are an expert.
Oh, Hunter Spence,
Sammy,
and
Stampy?
Potato and Sammy.
Oh, Sammy.
Yeah, Sammy and
and Potato. I forgot about
Mhm.
Potato. Who's the last one? Sark?
Sark.
Mm-hmm.
So it would be me and Potato butting heads the entire time, Sammy and Hunter laughing their ass off, and Sark on Reyna just trying to WK people. That's
The
exactly
question
how
is,
that team would go.
Would that team win expert grand finals? Oh wait, before we get to that, did we make a decision?
Oh, PN and 5 for me.
PN and 5? Honestly, I could see that. Go the distance.
Both
Obviously, I'm gonna root for my boys, but I could totally see that. I think both teams are really good.
both teams have insane looking stats. I think LG is very well rounded. but Kenny to me
They got
is
Kenny.
just the X factor.
Mhm.
Has Kenny won ever in VDC? I swear Kenny's got at least one.
Probably NBA.
Kenny only has an wait, was Kenny an NBA?
Yeah.
Oh god. Kenny only has an MVP. That's insane.
Yeah, I mean the MVP makes sense. I mean he's nuts. I mean
All right.
We need the
I
score
think it'll be
esports to do
I
a
I
report
think
on Kenny.
yeah, I think LG takes it, but I do think it's going to be a dogfight just because of like PN's ability to like play around Kenny, I feel like, and like I feel like Kenny could carry a game or two or three, you know, like you never know with Kenny, like he could pop off. So I
I
think
just
I
look
say, I say, if Kenny hasn't won one at this point, he's cursed. Therefore, LG takes it down.
mhm.
All
I'm
right,
sorry.
moving on to expert.
Before we go,
Moving-
I just looked at PN's like names for their Mythic roster. If I was on the edge about maybe picking them earlier, I'm all in for PN. These names are amazing.
What? Read
Corker
'em.
Corky 99, Hedger Hoggy 99, Kenny Wenny 99, Rizzy Lizzy 99, and Cherney Warren.
Oh, they got
That's
that
amazing.
teamwork. They got that teamwork.
I am so for that. Give me Piss Nation 5.
All right. Honestly, I'd be happy with either team's winning at this point. There's good enough cases for both for me to back, and realistically, that's saying a lot because I'm part of LG. So, so that's crazy. But
Damn.
okay, expert. We've got some. So expert and apprentice have not yet started. So this one is a little bit more up in the air. So first we have to pick our playoff, who makes it, and then in addition to that, who wins the whole thing. So I mean, I can't really say what the bracket matchups are going to be, but we could probably just shoot 6-5-4-3-2-1.
Ooh,
Yeah,
Are we posed?
I'm here for it.
that works,
All
bro.
right. For me, coming number 6
This is
for all my Spanish people out there. I got L7. I'm a fan of L7. I mean, obviously huge fan of Zooter. Obviously, huge fan of Liler, friends with Curbs. But I think it's nice that they make playoffs. But I mean, dude, it's L7 first round exit. Let's be real.
I'm here for
Can't
it.
can't argue with that take really. I mean, L7's cursed, you know. They're
Uh,
cursed in apprentice tier.
L7, Lucky 7, the unluckiest franchise VDC history of the orgs. Shout it out. Coming
Shameless
in like
plug.
5 months.
What? So are they next then?
Probably.
Fair enough. I'm gonna give you a really hot take,
Hit me.
and it's 1,000% unbiased. OS at 6.
Okay.
They've got this star new duelist, dude. Like I don't know, it's just hard to bet against them.
Who could that be?
Or they got him out of the
Two rats.
bullpen.
It's 2 rats.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Correct.
makes sense.
Correct.
Yep.
Cracked
A
out
little bit of
duelist.
a
Yeah.
role change.
Their star pitcher came back from Tommy John halfway through the year and got him off the
Honestly,
IR.
if you see rats end up on duelist at some point during the season,
You gave up.
no. Rats is actually pretty nasty on duelist, especially when I'm throwing KO flashes. I know you've seen a little
Oh,
bit of it.
okay. Okay.
So we'll see. Desperate times,
Fair
That's
enough.
fair.
but it might happen.
It's possible. I mean, everything is up in the air for this tier and apprentice as
Yeah.
well. So
All we have to do is beat VTX on Wednesday, and then we have just the two
That's
teams at
probably
21
likely.
wins. Yeah, we casually just play HT who's 21-9, and then LG who's also 21-9. So easy schedule, right?
yeah. Light work, right?
Light work. Yeah, definitely no bias in that pick.
Jordo, what do you got
For number 6?
for 5?
Oh, number flumph for my German viewers. We're just gonna keep this international since Dan went on with the Spanish. Gotta show his love to my German people. Gonna go with KC at the number 5 spot. I mean, I think it's just a well-rounded org in general. I mean, I feel like they've been pretty competitive, like just in their history. I feel like they've got some good leadership. Um, and I
They have
feel like
Reflex or is that Mythic?
That's Mythic.
Mythic, yeah. But I feel like
Okay.
there's just like good talent scattered throughout like all their tiers, and so I feel like they'll make playoffs, but I don't feel like an expert tier they have like enough to kind of propel them like to the top end or like have a chance of winning potentially. I mean, anything can happen. I mean, we were 4 seed in last year and we almost won the thing. So, anything can happen. I mean, OS, if they squeak in at 6, they're probably pretty scary because they have a tough road ahead of them. So, I wouldn't
That's
count anybody
true.
out, but I think KC at 5 personally, just based on my knowledge. Obviously, I don't play them, so I can just go off of the face value of looking at the stats and kind of their record and stuff. So,
I
I
also
think that's pretty respectable. What were you gonna say?
I also have KC at 5. I think combat just disgusting, and then just everybody else.
Yeah, dude, I
is
totally forgot.
solid.
Comebacks is
hmm
different.
Yeah, Worry as well. Like I love Worry to death. Um, Great player. I think has done very very well since moving to KC as well. So I think that fit is perfect.
Does Nico play?
Not for. I don't think Nico plays. Nico
Okay,
just.
okay.
hmm
Trying to piece together some of these rosters, but because it's been.
Combax, Frey, Karumi, Pluto, and Worry.
Oh,
Is
that's right. They have
yeah.
Frey.
Yeah, Frey. Also, I did cast the match, and Frey like went like turbo carry mode on KJ on Ascent, like with the Odin spam. And
Oh
Valid.
my
so,
god. I
you
have
know, I
nightmares.
and I have a lot of respect for Frey as a player. Obviously, playing against Frey last year too. I mean, Frey is. I mean, there's a reason Frey got moved up. So, um, I think I think that they could pull a run together and possibly make to the second
Like
round
Cinderella
potentially.
story.
Yeah, but I don't see them making it to the championship because I just think the top end is so competitive and like there's teams are just so well rounded that I just think it'd just be like a really tall mountain to climb.
I agree. At number 4, this this could be hot take. This could be just a normal take. But I got double taps. I mean, last season made it to the grand finals. This season they got Ray. Big fan of Ray. That was my like original duo in combines last season. Didn't work out. Potato Wing dropped me. Devastated. But I think they've started to kind of shape up a little bit since Ray came off IR. But it hasn't looked flawless, maybe a little shaky. It's possible they make it in, and if they do, I think they could make a run, maybe finish 4th. But we'll have to see. What are your thoughts, Spence?
This is where I have TT as well. Beryllium is a pain to play against. We just played against them on Friday. It was 2 relatively close games, but I think a lot of how this team is going to perform is um, it's going to be a bit of a mix of if everyone on the roster can perform. Beryllium and Terror are, in my eyes, 2 of the most consistent players in the tier. It's all going to be basically is like can Starly and Potato kind of get their kills, and then what kind of game is Ray going to have?
That's fair,
He had
yeah.
2 like either MVP or very close to MVP maps against us, and that was a lot of the difference. Disregarding the fact that we went, I think 1 for 6 on anti ecos, but we don't talk about that. But yeah, Ray had a really good game against us, and it kind of really tipped him over the edge. But in my eyes, it's going to be is it going to be 2v5s or is it going to be a 5v5? And if it's a 5v5, I think TT can tier.
That's fair. I'm not gonna lie, I totally forgot about Starly, and we had Starly on the pot
hmm
as the
Love my boy Starly.
the third pick because everybody else was getting banned or wasn't rostered. So shout out Starly, absolute goat. But I haven't been keeping up, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, you've been fighting your own uphill battle, so so you
Which
know
we'll get to that soon.
we will touch on that. But
um, okay, so we both have we all got double taps at 4. Now we have top 3, and we've discussed High Tide, LG are both at 21-9 record. I just dropped my phone. I mean, I have High Tide and LG. I won't say which one is 1 and which one's 2, but in my top 2 right now, who do you think is number 3?
I'm gonna let you take this first because I think mine is very different.
Well, I have MF.
Yeah.
They did just pick up Stampy. So if that works out, that could be different. But if it doesn't, then that's unfortunate. So if it works out, I think they could even be higher than 3. But I could easily, with against a roster that's been together for an entire season, for the most part, I think they could run into some issues. I mean, you saw the same thing last season with Stampy joining OS a little bit late, and then they got into the playoffs and they absolutely fell apart. I mean, they were just awful.
All right, bud.
But you know what I mean? So it could be a trend.
One semifinal and
To be fair, that's the only one you had to
career
choke.
over. Oh yeah. First semifinal in history that I've ever played in. For sure.
But so it's possible, but I got them at 3, depending on how that pickup turns out.
Yeah. I mean, I will say though, there are 3 match days for experts still left, or are there 2?
3.
3 still?
3.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure. I mean, that gives them a little bit of time to kind of develop their team play. I mean, that's like a week and a half, before playoffs start, or 2 weeks almost out still. So, I think Stampy, the way he's playing this year, could really make a push to get to the championship. But right now, obviously, I've played against our expert team. I think that they're pretty cracked. I mean, they even got a 30-year-old that almost breaks his shoulder and dislocates it playing Chamber, trying to flick headshots with his headhunter. Shout out Jag. I mean, so I just think that MF at 3 is a solid pick because it gives kind of them some validity. So if they do go and win it, we covered our ass. Really, ultimately, is all it boils down to. But I think Stampy, I think the way he's playing this season, like he could carry a team to a championship potentially. And I think once you kind of get up to the top of the tiers for the most part, other than probably prospects, arguably, I think most of the teams I could see like that make playoffs could argue a case of why they have a chance of maybe making it to the championship or making a Cinderella run, in the lower end. Um, but but yeah, kind of rolling into the number 2 based off of what I just said. HT, LG, same record, both great teams, but I have LG at 2 at the moment. But I do think that they have the firepower to win a championship, and they could roll some teams. I think if they play up to their potential with their team play and all things considered. I mean, Flurk is crazy. His aim's nuts.
Does Flurk show up?
Yeah, if Flurk shows up and wakes up before the game time starts, I think they have a real shot at making a run. I mean, obviously they get a bye, so they've only got to win 2 series, which is a big advantage, but also maybe a disadvantage, one would argue, having like that week off, or the game day off, because those teams that kind of have been rolling into playoffs and they got hot at the right time, they had that extra match on the other team that you in a scrim you argue you could get there, but I mean the playoff potential, like just the playoff implications that ride on your shoulders when you're playing in those games, they come in with the experience that HT and LG won't have until obviously they figure out who they're going to play. Um, and it's an advantage too from the lower teams because they know when they win who they have next. So they have at least a little bit of like, okay, if we win this one, we know we're going to be playing this team, and so maybe they can strat against it a little bit and put a little bit more planning into it than the other team gets a chance to. But yeah, I think LG at 2 is pretty solid. I mean, there's just a lot of talent on there. Like I said, I go on and on about my LG guys.
Yeah, so we have me and Jordo's top 3 being High Tide, LG, and MF. Spence, who are your top 3?
Mine. I actually have LG at 3.
Okay.
Um,
You can leave the
I
podcast now.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
have
thanks.
played with or against most of this roster, and while they're all good players, I'm shocked that people don't know how to play against this team yet. Like
Which
in
one,
my
LG?
LG, in my mind, like, and I could be very wrong. This team feels so one-dimensional, and we could get killed on Friday. I know we play them Friday.
Set yourself up
Like,
here.
this could get clipped and thrown right back in my face. But from what I know about some of these players, I feel like this team is very one-dimensional. And while they're good at that, I feel like I'm surprised that this team hasn't been figured out yet.
I think that's
And
reasonable.
it could be coming. And that's why I have them at 3. Is like, I don't know. They look like they're playing very well together. Everyone has very solid ratings, but nothing is super standing out.
Yeah.
No Jag probably looking like the best player statistically, with a 1.26 attack and a 1.2 defense. But again, like I'm worried that teams, especially if they play a team like TT, who Ceruleum is just, in my eyes, far and away the best IGL in the tier. If they come up against a team like that in a best of 3 series, give it a couple, like maybe 8-10 rounds, and they've got them figured out. And I don't think that LG enough strat wise to maybe find a counter or find a different way to play that's still going to be effective. So if they're running through you, it's going to be really hard to stop. But if the other team is shooting back pretty well, or they're maybe having an off day, I'm a little bit worried about it.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that's reasonable. I'm not gonna. Okay, I'm gonna leak. We were able to manage a win against our expert team now, and it
What
was
map and how'd
only
you do it?
because Flirk wasn't shooting back, and another one I just don't remember their name, but they played Fade, I think.
Zoro or Mini?
Zoro.
Yeah, Zoro.
Okay.
The two of them weren't shooting.
Hold on, let me pull up my notes.
So we
What
won
map?
that
What
map,
map was
but
it?
the next map we got absolutely shit.
It was on Pearl. Just so
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, perfect. We love Pearl. We'll take him to Pearl. Sounds great.
Nice. Yeah.
But yeah. So that's my 3.
Yep.
2, I have MF. Y'all
Okay.
have kind of really touched on it. I know Stampy's going to be on smokes for this team. Kind of going back to it, which he's very comfortable on that role.
Mhm.
I think they're not losing anything by any means. Like, Stampy is having almost an MVP caliber season.
Yeah, Stampy's been fine.
As long as the fit is right, which I know, being the team that cut Stampy, we had a very long conversation about a lot of things. So if he's deciding to sign with them, then there's a lot of stuff that he sees that's going right there. So I would not be surprised if this team, I have them finishing second behind HT, but they might be my favorite to win the whole thing if they can get clicking. That,
That's
to
fair.
me, that is a terrifying team. I will go up against any other team in this tier 10 times before I face up against that MF team.
All right. Well, you heard it here. You heard it here. MF is the scariest roster, bar none. If he's wrong, we
Sue me.
can. Yeah, sue him. That's a good one. All right. So moving on to Apprentice. Apprentice is once again another tier that is not done with the regular season. So there's a lot of stuff up in the air. So this isn't going to be, the seedings for playoffs. It's the final, these teams made playoffs. Who's making it, or how far do they go? So who do we think squeaking in and then leaving at 6? Jordan, I'll let you take that one.
Squeaking into playoffs. I guess you should rephrase that to we think the 6th finishing team in playoffs once the teams have made it is.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Because our answer will be LG if you phrase it that way. But Sixth place, I think, like finishing sixth in the tier, will be PA, but I could also argue a case where PA could be a dangerous team, and I think people underestimate them a little bit. Um,
True.
I mean, we went what 2-2 against them this season,
Yeah,
I
it was like
believe.
pre and post the Zahn pickup.
Uh-huh. And I think they've made some roster changes and some improvements on. Was a player that we had on our preseason roster that we knew was really good. It's just there was a bunch of role conflicts and it just kind of, worked out. Like, and I'm glad that Zahn found a team because he's got really
Yeah.
good vibes and he's a good player. So PA at 6 at the moment, but honestly, I could see them going on a deep tournament run. Honestly, just because, like I said, in my opinion, I think Apprentice is probably the most tightly fought tier as far as like top to bottom. I don't think that I think it's really hard to pick a clear-cut number one solely on the fact that there's so many teams that could make a run. I mean, Spence will argue OS is going to win it all, but
I think that is a valid argument, though.
and that's a valid argument. I think they've
Yeah.
earned the respect, but arguably the last like 2 weeks they've played kind of on a downward trend, and so if they're able to nip that in the bud in the next 3 match days, I think obviously, but I'm not going to touch on
Downward
that now.
trend and
But
still getting it done.
yeah, I mean, so I think Party Animals at 6 is probably a safer pick. But like I said, I have a lot of respect for all of them on the roster.
Yeah.
We've played them. They're tough. They're tough to beat. They stick around, and if you don't put them away, then they'll linger around and put you away. So um, P8 6, but like I said, I
It could
think
be a
that they,
dark horse for
yeah, I
sure.
think that they're probably my darkest horse in the teams that we have potentially.
I think you nailed it. Like I have PA at 6 as well. Like this team is very well rounded. Um, Bobbert has and Thunder Buddy both have tons of experience.
Hmm.
Zizon is
I wanted Bobbert
is
on
it
my
Zizon or
roster.
Zon?
We just call him Zahn,
We just
but it
put
could
Okay,
be
Zahn, yeah.
it could be
uh,
Zahn, but I'm not sure.
has really good stats as well. Imperial is actually someone who I heard through other. If I'm wrong, then completely disregard this. I believe is an old CSC guy.
Okay.
Um, and I mean stats look extremely well rounded. Averaging a 1.18, 220 ACS. Like just extremely well rounded. Like not
Not too
just as
shabby.
good on the attack as on the defense.
Hmm.
Like is gonna be right there for you every single game. Um, which a lot of the players on this team look like. So like to me, that's super scary. You have every single person on the roster that can perform, and then all you're waiting for is someone to pop off, and you can beat anybody in the tier. So I 1,000% agree that this team could be a dark horse and make it a really deep run if they make playoffs. They've got some tests though.
Hmm.
Yeah.
HT and KC in 2 of their final 3 games. If they
That
can
is gonna be
pull,
difficult.
yeah, if they pull results and make playoffs, they are 1,000% a team that nobody wants to go up against.
Yeah,
Hmm.
absolutely. So I feel like this one is a little bit of a hot take, but for number 5, I have High Tide, and I if I recall correctly during the
Woo!
first episode, I had them making playoffs. I thought they had a really well-rounded roster. They made some roster changes. They don't have Coach Searing anymore, um, but Tavasi has really found himself, and um, but then they also lost one ninja. So there's a lot of changes going on with this roster, yet they've still managed to win.
Hmm.
So they're winning and winning and winning, but how much of it is skill and how much is these teams are just letting Tavasi play chamber on chamber maps? Like,
Is he actually
let's play a
playing
different map. You know what I mean? So I feel like we could see an upset here. Um, providing they don't make the 2 seed, and 1 and 2 seed would be like OS and KC. I think that we could see a first round exit from High Tide, but I mean, they're a well-rounded roster, like I said, or like Jordo said, super tight. I think you could also easily make an argument that they go pretty far.
That
Yeah,
is insane.
I think that's one of those ones that's really tough to call just because, like I said, we're one of those, I mean, we're ranked ninth right now. Obviously, it's like a 1 game difference between 9 through 6, I think, anyways. Like, and most of the tier being tied right now as far as competing for that last spot. And we have the round differential head to head against HT. We played them pre-Ninja and post-Ninja. And I will say, I think that they are a lot scarier now than they were before Ninja, surprisingly to me. Um, but I will give the disclaimer though. I think they could easily get knocked out early if Tavasi doesn't put the team on his back and perform the way Tavasi has as of late.
Yeah,
And I think Tavasi's perform. I mean, Tavasi's the all-time kills leader in VDC history. So you got to put some
Don't get me
respect.
started.
You got to put some respect on Tavasi's name. Um, I don't necessarily agree with the 5 spot, but I also could justify it. But I'm going to give a hot take here, actually. I'm
hit me.
thinking HT is going to get in as the 2nd seed due to some issues with the roster on KC, being that they're missing some players.
That's
And I
what I
think
have as
that
well.
KC is number 5, and they'll get knocked out in the first round.
Oh,
Ooh, okay.
wow.
I like
I
that.
think Karan coming back. Um, Obviously, I have a lot of friends on the KC roster. I love VK to death. I love Karan to death. I could go on and on and on. They're all awesome people. But I think that there's just some stuff in their team play right now that they're getting used to playing with certain players that are going to be gone, and finding that rhythm again that they had at the beginning of the year might not be as easy as they think it's going to be potentially. And I know how that is, like missing a player and then trying to play with them again after like a couple match days. Like, it's not easy because you have a sub that plays a certain way. You kind of play around the subs to make your team get the chance to win. But I think if KC doesn't win 2 seed, I think that they have a tough matchup in the first round, um, and
I agree.
potentially could exit. I mean, I could see them dropping down to 4 seed even potentially. I mean, not even just 3 seed. I think they could go down to 4 seed. MF's playing really, really good right now. HT's playing really good right now. OS, I think maybe actually locked up the number 1 seed tonight with a 2-0. Spence is the guy to know that, but
Not a
um,
good dog.
but I think I
So
have KC potentially if they. I think if KC drops out of the 2 seed and goes down to 3 or 4, I think that they get knocked out round 1.
riddle me this.
Okay.
How about this scenario? LG makes it, squeaks into playoffs. KC misses 2 seed. Now is the 3 seed playing against the 6 seed LG, rematch
LGK.
grand finals. Obviously, LG wins. So KC 5 finishing the rankings, and then LG 4. Valid.
I think if you don't bet on yourself, then you shouldn't play. Just
I
my
mean,
humble.
obviously, I
According to
think we would
L7
win it
Gaming, you
all,
can't
but
bet on
like,
yourself, but
Well, yeah, well, yeah, and other sports books you can though. I mean, we've seen it in the NFL, the NBA, the MLB. I mean, it's happened.
hey, I don't know why that's not legal, honestly. Like, why
facts.
not? Why not throw
I
all
mean,
of your
boxers
money?
can bet on themselves actually to win
No, what is this? Come on, Roger
legally.
Goodell. Get the
Yeah, we got
NFL
it's all up to the director of the league, I suppose, and the legality. But
lame.
I think KC5 is my hot take, arguably, but I don't know if it's the hottest take.
I like that. I
I
like
mean,
that take a lot, actually.
If y'all are throwing out hot takes, I have VTX at 5.
Whoa!
okay,
I love it.
I do too. I
What?
do too.
While we're here, we might as well just keep throwing hot takes. Also, on the topic of KC, I have them at 3. I don't know. I like this team. I
Lucky
they
man Tiberson.
I don't know. Moof is one of my favorite players tier. Um, we tried to get him in VDC, MVA. It may or may not be almost midnight when we're recording this.
Almost won. I guess it's
I'm
central for you.
Central
Yeah.
Time. Yeah. I love Moved. We tried to get him an MVA, but Mason sucks at his job. I'm kidding. Tiberson as well. Tiberson reminds me a lot of Flirk in the. I don't know. I could be completely wrong, but like, is Tiberson not a duelist?
He's like a
He's
flex.
everything.
Oh, okay. I feel like I've only ever seen Tiberson on duelist, and when he is, he just W keys on Jet. Disgusting.
Yeah, no, that definitely
He
happens.
W keys on Clove
Okay.
too.
Oh,
He's got the
okay.
Bucky
Then
gameplay.
what are you giving me that face for? Flirk W keys,
I
and
don't
that's
know.
it.
I just think Flirk is significantly better than Tiberson.
Yeah, I think that's unjust to
mean,
compare
yeah,
Tiberson
but
And
to
I'm
like,
only
Flirk.
saying that because
I'm saying like
me and
similarities in
Jordo
play
know
style.
Tiberson.
Yeah,
I'm saying like play
I was
style.
fortunately his best man at his
Oh wow.
wedding day. I do know Tiberson. I think I could see VTX being one of the teams that could possibly squeak in too. I mean, like I said, there's like 3 or 4 teams that are like
Yeah.
all neck and neck, and there's a lot of really important games coming up, especially this week. I mean, we play PN, which is one of the teams on the border.
Mhm.
L7, one of the teams on the border.
Yep.
If you,
So
I mean,
that's
there's
actually part of the reason I have VTX so high is like y'all are like a lot of the border teams are playing. I think VTX has TT and PA. I see them winning 3 of those maps at least.
mhm.
Yeah.
I don't know if
I don't know.
3 will be enough though. I think they need to win probably 4 or 5.
Yeah, I mean
Who's
they're
VTX?
currently tied with L7 at 13 wins and one behind PA. So a 2-0 against PA takes them right into the playoff. So I don't know. I'm very excited to kind of see how this turns out, but I have VTX kind of turning on hot. I don't know how much they're gonna do in playoffs, but
Mhm.
I have them squeaking in as my 5 seed.
That's respectful. I think
Yeah.
Joey, Noodles, and Tiberson kind of like doing like the joint IGL has worked out really well for them. Um, Obviously they had some roster changes, and I think it was a good move on their part. They picked up some really talented players, and
Mhm.
um, I think that's kind of been the story of Apprentice. There's been a lot of roster changes, and teams that were at the bottom of the tier now are all of a sudden in playoff contention or have moved themselves up into the playoff already. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean everything from 4 to 10 is so close. It'll be a
Yeah,
lot
it
of
really
fun
is
to see how that
crazy.
goes. Stay
Mm.
tuned for Spence's sheet of
I'm pretty
mass
sure. I
confusion.
will
Oh.
say though, I'm pretty sure TT mathematically is out of playoffs tonight though. As of recording after the
Things have
loss.
been updated. They're 11 and 19 with 6 maps left, so they can still go all the way up to 17 wins, which would put them fourth.
Okay,
So
I guess that's
they
true.
are. OS is 1 match day away from securing
One seed.
first seed, and nobody is currently eliminated.
Gotcha.
Gotcha.
Damn.
Yeah, well, that's why we got Spence on here. Spence knows.
Yeah.
He knows.
Sorry
He
for the
knows OS well.
sorry for the straight
He-
bullet, TT. I think you might be one match, maybe potentially out of
I
elimination.
think it's 2 right now.
Gotcha.
I
'Cause what
think
what are we at right now? 12 wins?
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
yeah. Y'all are
I
3
think
wins out, or 3
one
losses.
thing that Spence doesn't know about OS though is that they're not winning at all because they're losing in
Nah.
the semifinals and making 3 seed or finishing in 3rd place.
Honestly,
It's
I would
happening.
take it.
I think
I mean, you had Terror Kid, the #1 pick in Apprentice. Apparently, there's this curse about the #1 pick in Apprentice not winning. So
Curses are meant to be broken. Kenny's winning it all in Mythic. Terror Kid's winning it all in Apprentice. Curses are breaking this season.
the year of the curses. I mean, if that's the case, I'm
can
gonna
they
put
win without
L7 at
Spence?
1.
I don't think an Apprentice roster is one without Spence on it. I'm just saying.
That might be true.
An OS Apprentice roster, correct?
An OS Apprentice roster.
Yeah.
That's right. What? There's 3 of them, right?
I wish.
Or 2?
If you want to take VK's trophy and give it over to me, I will take it all day.
Yeah, I want it.
What is this? The Heisman?
Yeah.
But-
Nah, he got the national championship. I got the Heisman last season.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, so I have OS at 3. I mean, it's just there's just so much volatility in this like top 3. I feel like it's just I feel like it could be anybody's game. I mean, historically this season OS has looked really strong, but Then just tonight, barely squeak out against TT a 2-0, but it is a 2-0 nonetheless. And so in a pretty similar situation against us happened, and we, at the time, I think were 9. And well, we still are 9, but still, I mean, they're coming out with these wins, but they're like squeaking by, and I feel like once you start playing against these like more well-refined rosters, are you gonna falter or what's gonna happen? And I think the falter is what's gonna happen. So
Yeah, and I will say, and we kind of touched on this before the podcast too, and we were just kind of chatting. I think that this is like just from experience from last year, like clutches during the regular season, like if you miss one, it's like ah. But I think with like the amount of clutches that OS relies on and how close the matches have been, I think you can only ride on like the higher end of that sword before it eventually like impales you. Especially with like the implications of playoffs where like, if you lose map 1, then you lose a clutch in map 2, like you're just increasing your chances of like losing, and I feel like that can start to build kind of nervousness in you and like make you play a little bit different. I think there's some new players really. I mean, OS, like I don't know if any of the players on the team last year other than TK potentially have played in apprentice playoffs either. So that's one of
Right.
those things too where I know there's probably some prospect players that pulled up that probably did like Legend X potentially, but you know, will the reliance on clutches come back to bite them? I know personally it bit LG in the hind end last year,
yeah,
and all of a sudden against KC we're not converting our clutches and we lose a 9-3, and then it just kind of snowballed on us from there. So, but OS easily could run through it too if they play up to their potential too. It's just one of those things where I could see them exiting earlier than they anticipate though.
who's your number 3, Spence?
I have KC.
Oh yeah,
Valid.
you
Already
said that
touched on them.
earlier.
Oh
Um,
yeah, valid.
so I want to give a little bit of insight on this OS team really quickly. So Monkey D. Luffy is Rishu, Randy, Andy R, Bowie, however you
Wait,
want to go.
Rishu and Randy are the same person,
Yeah,
and you never thought to tell me that.
I thought it was pretty common knowledge. His Discord
That's
name is Rishu. But yeah,
that's
so he's been kind of flip flopping between apprentice and expert since season 1. He won with us in season 4, so he has plenty of experience there. Legend X also winning season 4 with Prospect. Brennan has made playoffs, I think, multiple times in season. Did they make it in season 1 and 2? Maybe they didn't. But I know for a fact he made finals last season. TK has won it all before. Drisk is a VDC
with
player
LG
as
though.
well. Yeah.
Season 3.
I mean, you got to get some handouts where you. And then yeah, so I agree with you. I mean, like Drisk has what 24, 25 clutches this season, which is just insane. But I mean, we were talking kind of beforehand of people figuring out TK a little bit in his calling. But I mean, it's kind of hard when you have a Legend X go W key
True.
or Legend X don't W key and then he does it anyway. That's when it really throws people off.
He's literally just Stampy reincarnate. It's
Who's gonna expect a Viper to be entering a mile in front of his jet? Nobody's gonna be expecting. And
So
it's going with. I mean, he's got 546 kills this season.
yeah, no, he's
doing a
frying.
pretty decent job.
He's
but-
frying, and I hate it.
I think it's one of those
But-
things too where like TK's like IGLing also helps people's stats on OS just because like at the beginning of the season with TK's IGLing ability, I think OS was able just to kind of be really dominant early on, and I think now people are starting to kind of find their form, and so I think that's why OS's matches are closer. Isn't
Yeah.
because they've gotten worse. I think other teams have just gotten better, and OS has kind of just played consistent.
Yeah.
And
I think it's a mix of both.
I mean, obviously
Yeah,
they're gonna have bad. That's the thing though is OS. I haven't really seen them have an absolute like other than like a couple games here. I haven't had them seen like them have like a bad series overall. And so you wonder, is it gonna come at the worst time possible, like it happened last season with Spence's team, where They play against KC. They're the number 1 seed. Everyone thinks like, oh, this team's dangerous. They have Stampy, Spence, Two Rats, Woots. I mean, the whole. I mean, really, some of the best players in the tier, arguably at that season, and
Yeah.
then they go and get a first round exit 2-0, right? I think.
Yeah. So what I like about this team is like take tonight where they win 14-12, 13-11 TT, who in my mind is a very good roster. Like I genuinely do not understand how that team has the results that they have. But like kind of looking at the team chats after the game, it's like nobody on that OS team thought that we played well, either as individuals or as a team, and we still found a way to get it done. So that's what I love about the roster. And like that reminds me a lot of our season 4 team, where we had the first round bye, a red hot LG team came in and surprised the hell out of us in map 1. Arguably should have won map 2. It was a really close either 13-11 or overtime game. And then once we kind of it took us 2 maps to get into it, and then map 3 was kind of a blowaway. But like we did not play our best in that season 4 semifinal, and like this team is still finding a way to win when they're playing not even their B game but their C game. So I think that they have what it takes to go all the way. Call it OS bias.
That's fair though. I mean,
I've
you do
played
have
with a
Yeah.
lot
downsides
of
that
teams.
nobody else
I'd argue
has.
they have some of the most, probably the most firepower in the league as far as like their roster potential.
Mhm. I don't think anybody would be surprised if they won it.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's
I'll
gonna be
say that,
surprised, but I will say though that can, like I said, it can just add more weight on their shoulders. Like the target on your back can start to feel heavy, especially when you've worn it the entire season. You
Yeah.
know, that's the
Been there,
biggest
done
thing.
that.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing is like you're always the villain, always the bad guy. Some teams, once it comes to playoffs, use that as like their anthem and they just go and roll through playoffs, and then
OS is
some teams.
expected to win the event.
Yeah, and then and like
Every
obviously,
seed.
I mean, L7 last year was expected to win
Oh
Apprentice
yeah.
tier, and like everyone thought, oh man, no one's beating L7, they're just tough. And then LG, the 4 seed that no one thought was even going to probably make playoffs, and we made it the last day of playoffs, somehow managed to 2-0 them.
Yeah.
So I think that it's just like, and especially in this tier too, I think the competition's just so tightly packed that I wouldn't be surprised if OS gets knocked out in the semifinals. But I also wouldn't be surprised if I see him in the championship and win 3-0 or something like that too. You
Yeah,
know.
I agree.
I am so excited to watch the rest of Apprentice play out because again,
Mhm.
literally anything could happen.
Yeah.
It's like
Mhm.
if you're like you could ask anybody either in Apprentice or just like people who have been kind of keeping up with the tier what they think is going to happen, and nobody's going to get it right on. It's going to be absolute chaos, and it's going to be so much.
It's gonna be
Mhm.
awesome. I can't wait. Um, so I guess really quick to wrap up Apprentice. I know you have OS going all the way. I uh have some wishful thinking. You know, I just maybe don't like the whole KC underdog thing, so I'm just gonna say their favorite to win back to back. First to ever sorry. Whoa, scratch that. Second to ever do it behind OS Mythic. Rest in peace, that Mythic roster.
TB Expert also did it seasons 1 and 2, so
Huh?
maybe north. The
The
Blaze
Blaze?
Expert season 1 and 2. Yeah, they went back to back in Expert. They stole our perfect sweep in season 2. Gumba Yum's shining moment with
No, I
Neptune
remember.
running
Yeah, I
it down
remember that.
on.
I literally just read the whole script, but
Yeah.
they went back to back seasons?
Yep. Neptune
I
running it
am.
down on Neon for 2 seasons. Nobody could stop it.
That's crazy. But yeah, so I have KC1, Mafia 2. I love the boys over at Mafia, but
That's a
I
nasty.
mean something's gonna go wrong. I just know. So they're just not gonna win it all.
Call him out.
Yeah, dude, listen. Royal is gonna lose power because of a hurricane, and it's gonna be for like 3 straight weeks, and he's not gonna be able to win because they're gonna be missing their duelists, and that's how it's gonna play out.
Yeah, I will say though, I think MF is a scary roster. Like if
Yeah.
everyone's playing up to their potential, I mean, Drag is cracked. Royal is cracked, and I think those are just and Searing. I think that's their core
Yeah.
three like best players, and then like their supporting cast too. Like I mean, I've
Feast and
solo queue.
Blossom.
I've been like solo queue, duo queue with Blossom over the last week, and there's been games where Blossom almost drops 30. So Blossom has the potential to pop off, and then Ace also has the potential to play, you know, at the top end of their, fragging or whatever, but they're a really good support player for him. So it wouldn't surprise me if I see MF make it to the championship, but I also could see like MF also play like they've played at some points in this year, and it just does not look like they're working in sync. The cogs look like they're kind of off kilter a little bit when they're turning, and they've scraped by on some of the games, but also they've looked really, really poor in some of the games too, as has, arguably every team in the tier. I mean, it's hard to play perfect every game, but it just really just depends on how people actually show up to play. I mean, really, it's all it is. Like, we can say all this stuff. I mean, arguably, three of the teams that we've mentioned could find their way out of this list,
Yeah.
and three other teams could
Yeah.
find their way on because of how close the standings are right now. But I will say though, I'm more confident in this, but I could potentially see if LG doesn't make it in, I could see L7 making a hero run too potentially. I think that King Cozy
That'd be yeah.
and that roster are pretty solid, but at the same time they have the L7 luck. So I just think that they maybe don't have it in the cards, and I think it was a little bit too much too late. I think I'm not gonna trash talk anyone, but um, yeah, I'll just leave it at that. But I think that probably wraps up Apprentice tier for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
So now, last but not least, we have Prospect, and
be a
this
quick and easy
is
one, I think here.
yeah. I mean,
Oh
there's
yeah,
OS
super easy.
versus LG.
Thanks, Spence, for making this one easy for us.
Appreciate it. So we're all on the same page, right? LG 3-0.
Obviously.
Yeah, and I love LG. I love D-Fits. I love Uklar. But this OS roster could
It looks
probably
scary,
almost
dude.
win Apprentice
Genuinely.
tier.
Yeah. I mean, you got Nybrock, you have Andy J. Both of those. I'm sorry. Actually, Nybrock missed.
Miss all day.
Nybrock missed our top 5, if I recall correctly. But I think probably got snipped, and I mean those two alone are crazy. But then you add on the remaining roster, and it really is just kind of gnarly.
I feel like in Prospect,
Like
though,
I
it's
said,
hard
I
to.
love the LG guys, but I mean it. On top of that, it's an even season. Like
It's not in the
it's
cards.
destined.
Yeah. I feel
Hey,
like it's
you
really
said
hard
it,
to.
not me.
I feel like it's really hard to like handpick like prospect players to say who are the best 5 players in the tier other than just going and looking at the stats page. Because to be honest with you, like there are some really crazy cracked prospect players in the tier this year, and there's probably like 6 of them that are just like nuts. I think there's probably one that's probably the best, obviously, but I think like overall, like 2 through 6, I would say the top 6 are all so neck and neck as far as talent goes that I feel like Nybrock was probably underperforming at the beginning at the first split from what we expected from Nybrock. But I think Nybrock has found their groove, and I think they're probably arguably, I wouldn't say arguably, I think I'd put them in the top 5 now of the
Oh, for
player
sure.
rankings for sure. And I mean, yeah, I just think OS is just too good to lose here. But, like I said, I'm an LG supporter through and through, so I'll be rooting for the underdogs here. And I've seen the underdogs win, in past games, so we'll see how it ends up. But I think OS could potentially have a 3-0 and prospect here.
Yeah. Spence, you got anything to say about it?
I've seen this team play a lot. Whether
Really?
subbing like against them in scrims, whatever. This team is unreal. Like I told y'all before, is like I think this is probably the best team in the history of VDC. Is like they they just set the regular season record for highest map win percentage and round win percentage, which I don't think is a like I this team is unbelievable. And as much as I love Defits and I give him crap all the time, but I think he knows the joke. Like I love Defits. I think the LG roster is really really good. We were having conversations at the start of the season, and we said it was going to be OS and LG, and I'm not at all surprised.
Yeah.
Wanderer is playing amazing. Like the team in general just has overall like really really solid stats. And I mean their semifinal game against HT was about as dominant as it could be. I mean,
Yeah.
13-11 on map 2, but I mean still to take away a map against a team like HT who has Ash, who in my mind is
Insane.
yeah, like
Yeah.
oh, wait, is that no? It's PN has Ash.
He and
Sorry,
Ash.
HT has
Airlifts.
airlifts.
Chairlifts. That
Who,
yeah.
again,
I knew exactly who you were talking about though.
yeah, who
Yeah.
I don't think should have been in prospect anyway.
Honestly, I
Airlift
agree.
is unreal.
Yeah.
And I mean, I know they returned one or two people from that team that won last season. So plenty of experience. Maddie did a really, really good job building that team. And if it wasn't Maddie, you're getting the credit. Congratulations. So LG has done a fantastic job of building this roster. I feel like pretty much every season you've got OS here, LG here, and sometimes you've got another team competing. And I mean, Defits is a big part of that. Defits has been in the tier for God knows how long. People are yelling at me to get out of Apprentice. Defits needs to be. I've been trying to get Defits into Apprentice for about 3 seasons because I don't think he. I think he is much better than he shows in prospect. But I mean, now that he's in AGM and like probably has the ability to build his own rosters.
I mean, he was planning on playing Apprentice this season, but
he should have.
then everybody else got moved up and everything just, fell apart.
Fair enough.
Mhm.
But yeah, as much as I love this LG roster, and genuinely I think it probably could win most seasons. OS is like it just has to be said. Like you have
There's them.
every single person on that team has gone off for almost 30 this season. I think
Okay.
except for Andy, but Andy's playing Sentinel and will consistently get the kills he needs to get. Like I just think the team is too good, and they grind all the time. I'll check Discord on like a random Monday night, and it's like, oh, they've scrimmed 2 games and are playing ranked, and Nabrak is on a 7-game win streak to hit Diamond as a prospect player. And like Koala's in there playing 10 mans with a bunch of Ascendants and keeping up. And Thornley is at 4 a.m. playing their 27th ranked game in a row. Like this team lives to play Valorant. Like Kisei is Miss All Day Sunday, is a fellow GM in CSC. So as soon as I saw he was in here, I knew I had to pick him up. But like the team meshes really well together. They complement each other really well, and they play the game so much together and separately. They're working on individual stuff as well as team play stuff, and they're getting a lot of help from the franchise. Our apprentice team has scrimmed them probably almost double-digit times. I think. I don't know. It could be 2. Who knows? Ace, who is our captain for Mythic, has done some time demo reviewing. I've worked with them a little bit. FS has worked with them a little bit. Like they're very willing to ask questions, very willing to learn from other people, and are kind of absorbing a ton of information and figuring out how they want to work it themselves. So I see them taking it in 4. I don't know how exactly it's going to go with maps, but I think they're going to cap a record-breaking season with a trophy. I really don't see any other way around.
So we're not seeing like undefeated Patriots getting backstabbed by the
I might
Giants
cry.
here.
I might cry if that happens.
No helmet catches or anything in the future.
Dude, I don't know. I can see a shorty ace or some dumb classic anti-eco. Just defits comes up and right clicks 3 people, picks up an AK. It's like the old KD and clutch on Mirage. for anyone who knows what that is. Greatest clutch of all time in CS. I don't know.
I
It
don't.
can always happen. LG is definitely the team to make it happen, but I don't think it will.
I don't
That's
think there's
valid.
any arguments there. But, obviously, I know where my cards are stacked. I'm rooting for the LG 3.0 as always on any tier. But
Gotta root for the
Should be.
boys.
yeah,
As it should.
but a lot of respect to the teams you build, Spence. I mean, just throughout the tiers, you just see OS consistently,
Done
finding
with
their
the
way to the
Mythic.
top. Yeah, besides Mythic. Mythic was a rough one.
What?
You know,
Oh, this season?
Yeah, it was
mhm.
pretty rough.
But
We
I was
got
gonna
the
say,
sub.
I mean, Mythic historically, like
yeah,
that's the most winning
We got the
yeah,
sub
Mythic
bug.
franchise. Or
yeah. But I mean, just in general, I mean, you just do a really good job over there, you and Woots,
Did it.
of building good teams. Uh, Dan was telling me about the history of how OS got its name and all that fun stuff too. I won't spill any beans because I want people to watch the long form content, but um, check out the OS episode when it comes out. It'll be really cool. Um,
Coming fall of
but
2026. That is
yeah,
really
yeah,
exciting.
yeah, yeah. We're just waiting on HBO to publish it, so.
exactly.
I thought we were
But
gonna deal with Netflix. What happened with that?
oh,
Yeah,
they pulled out and HBO slid
Ah,
in, so.
hey, if money's money.
Yeah, but yeah, thanks for coming on, Spence. It's always a pleasure talking to you, and best of luck with the rest of the season and your teams. Best of luck in expert tier, and I'm rooting for you to squeak into playoffs here and make a run.
Appreciate
Um,
it.
but yeah, no, I think that's all we have here on the tier list. Is there anything you'd like to say before you head out, Spence?
Thank you guys for having me. This has been a blast. Good luck to y'all as well, finishing up your season. As
thank you,
much as
thank
I
you.
would love to see OS win again in Apprentice, if somebody else has to win, get fucked VK. I would like it to be LG.
You heard it
So
here. I didn't
I
say
think he has the same sentiment.
absolutely.
it.
We've spent some long hours in VCs having some nice talks, sometimes over KO flashes. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
and
yeah,
disclaimer,
wish you guys luck as well.
VK, I love you to death, but nothing would make me happier than to be the guy and the
And
team
knock you out.
that sends you home just to get revenge for last year.
If y'all don't do it, we will.
I'm
Yeah.
so down.
I mean, yeah, you have your own revenge arc against them as well, so,
Sir.
there's two teams headhunting potentially here, so. Well, cool deal. Spence, thank you for coming on, and thank you for
Thank
all
you for
the
having me.
insight for all the tiers. And I look forward to seeing how all this plays out throughout the teams. Good luck to everyone. We'll be rooting for good games and good stream matches, and giving the fans what they want. So
Yep.
may the best team bring home the virtual trophy.
We will.
All right, but thank you once again, Spence. And actually, that is it for
Woo.
the podcast episode. So thank you, everybody. If you tuned in this far, that's crazy because this is going to be another long one. But episode 4 still going strong. All right, we still got at least 2, 3 more full episodes planned. So looking forward to seeing you then. But other than that, that's all for me. What about you, Jordan?
You said it all.
Sweet.
We're still cracking away, and we're going to continue to crack away. We're breaking records on the podcast. I mean, we 4x the record of podcast in VDC history. So,
Mm-hmm.
round of applause there. And we've had 4 straight podcasts of just great guests. So, Spence, VK, continuing the trend, blind as well. And till next time,
Till next time.
peace.
Later.